global company. We've got, as you know, offices here in New Zealand. The New Zealand arm of the company is actually called EP Education, and you may have heard of them before in one of your centres. EP Education support educators finding work within New Zealand. So they have offices in Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, and support early childhood across those centres. So if you are between jobs here in New Zealand or looking for work to change in New Zealand, we can support you here as well. We've got offices across Australia, and we'll talk to you about that soon and show you where those offices are and where we can support you there. We also have offices across the UK and across England and Wales as well. And we have pipelines from New Zealand to the UK and from Australia to the UK. We also support English and Irish teachers coming over to work in New Zealand and Australia. So we're quite global. The Canadian office is there to support educators traveling from Canada. Unfortunately, we aren't able to find roles within Canada at this stage. So it's a great company with great values, and yeah, our whole thing is we're here to support you, and we create a really good community for you as educators. So we've got people on the ground for you wherever you go. Why teach in Australia? So why would you leave New Zealand? It is something that a lot of Kiwis are looking at the moment. The work opportunities in Australia are huge. It's a great opportunity to be able to move up in your career, and as well as diversify as well. And that's something that Kale and Cormac will chat to you about around the roles on offer. Salary, pay rates in Australia are always generally higher than New Zealand. So it's always quite an attractive reason for leaving New Zealand to go and earn, save some more money. There's some incentives on offer for relocation packages. Sorry, I'll just let a couple of people in. So yeah, salary is obviously a really good drawing card. We also offer, there is also mutual recognition. So if you're fully registered as a teacher here in New Zealand, you'll generally, across most of the states, you'll be granted mutual recognition. So it's a relatively easy transition in terms of becoming registered in the state that you're interested in going to. And we'll go into more detail on that shortly. If you're not fully registered, your time in Australia can go towards your New Zealand registration. So it can be a really nice, easy way to become fully registered in New Zealand by finishing it off over there. So again, that mutual recognition works both ways. Obviously, overseas teaching experience is really great on your CV. It's always an interest and talking point, but from any head teacher looking at CVs, people are always interested in what other countries are doing. And obviously, New Zealand and Australia are both really aligned. So again, any experience from Australia is great. Also, another current relevant one at the moment is Australia have no border restrictions at all. So if you're living in Australia and you want to go on a holiday to Thailand, you can come and go as you wish. Currently in New Zealand, you still need to test negative to come back to New Zealand. Australia have no restrictions at all on COVID travel. So I was just talking to another consultant who actually flew in from India this morning back into Melbourne, and she just said she just walked through the airport, no one checked anything. So, you know, it's nice to have complete freedom over there as it is at the moment.
I think as well, just to jump in there, you know, it's at this moment in time, it's unbelievably, you know, candidate short essentially in terms of teachers here in Australia. And, you know, by taking that chance and coming over here, there are services that are, you know, really desperate for staff, and then that gives you much more leverage in terms of, you know, your salary, your benefits, where you want to live, and then the long-term opportunities of that if you're looking for that progression. You know, we'll talk about some of the roles that are available, but there's huge opportunity to come at this moment in time. And and then progress quite quickly within the sector.
Cool, thanks, Cormac. This is really good for me. This is actually the first time I've been involved in an ECE webinar, so I'm learning as we go too, so it's good for me here. Just a quick poll, we'll have a little go at this. Let's have a little try. If you guys could just pop in the comments a bit of a time frame. Now, where do I see the chat? About when you think you might be looking to go. You might say, look, I know there's a couple of people on this call who are actually planning to go within the next 6 months, but you might just be thinking maybe in the next 5 years, maybe 2023. I just can't find my chat, Dara. Kale. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so if you wanted to pop in there to give us a bit of an idea of time frames. Will I see it on here?
You might be. I can see it. So.
Oh, there we go. Okay, within a year. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Sometimes, look, it takes a bit of planning. It's nice to know what's involved. You know what you need to get prepared. People have often got homes to sell and things like that. So it can be a bit of planning in the time frame. So. So some people are looking at going reasonably soon. So again, we'll give you a bit of an idea about time frame and what to do when you're sort of getting within that sort of 6 months. Well, some people are going quite soon. Okay, cool. All right. Well, hopefully we can help you on this journey. So great.
Let's take over here.
I'm gonna, this is not my area. So I'm gonna be passing this one on.
Yeah.
So here we go. This is an interesting one. So yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's broken down into 3 main sections, I guess, and obviously these can split off into different roles, but these are the main qualifications we work with here currently. So there's degree qualified educators, which is early childhood teachers generally, diploma qualified educators. So diploma is generally about a 1-year course, and obviously it comes with a bit more responsibilities, which I'll go into in a second. And then we have certificate 3, cert 3 level educators, which is about a 6-month course that involves just a singular placement. Often they're free here in Australia as well for people who have just moved here. So there are a lot of places where you can get it done for free, which is great as well. So all of these, the qualifications that come over, obviously they're titled differently. So we run through a company called ECE, which can approve basically your qualification and connect it to one of our 3. And for the life of me, I can't think of some of the courses over in New Zealand, but obviously we deal with it a lot. Most of the time they either connect to a diploma level or obviously a teacher level. So they do have an approved list of qualification and courses that connect to what ours connect to. If it's not on there, though, you do need to apply for ECE to approve your course. It's $130 a one-off expense, but basically you can send through what you've got. They'll come back to you and go, yep, to work in Australia, you'll be an approved diploma qualified educator. And then you'll be able to just give that to us along with your qualification, and that's all we need to bump you up into a diploma. The rates obviously differ, and I think we get into that in a second as well. And what's important to note, I guess, is that the higher one can always do the lower positions as well. So if you're a teacher, you can work as a diploma qualified educator or a Cert 3. And if you're a diploma qualified, you can work as a Cert 3 as well. So the opportunities for work increase as you go. But as Cormac mentioned as well before, there's plenty of services looking for plenty of educators. So most of the time diplomas are getting diploma work and teachers are getting out as teachers, which is great. So it's worth checking your ECE site even after this meeting, getting onto the website, chucking in your course name to see if it's already on there. That way you can start planning. If it's on there, you won't have to worry about paying $130. If it's not on there, you'll have to add that into your calculation of coming over. And the earlier you apply, the better it is, because it can take, obviously, if people are starting to come back to Australia now, they're going to get a lot busier. Over the last year or so, it's only taken about a week because no one was coming over. But obviously, it's best to get in early, so that way, if it is busy, we're getting them pretty quick. What about the experience in teaching as well as qualification? I'm not sure what you're referring to there, the experience in teaching.
I think that is what sort of level they would be on. So if they had a degree qualified with 5 years. So I think that's something that we'll get to.
Yeah, so we will answer that. I think Cormac's got a section he's going to go through for the teacher rates. But if we want to jump to the next slide, it sort of breaks down the qualifications a little bit here. So we've got up the top assistant educator, so AKA co-educator, Cert 3 assistant. Some of the terms you'll hear thrown around. Everyone's got their own version. Each centre calls it something different. So it is good to familiarise yourself with these. Some of the duties include supporting lead educator with implementing experiences, following the set program, communication with families, cleaning, toileting, and nappy changing. So they're some of the key tasks. Then we've got lead educator. So obviously we've just said here that the Cert 3 would generally support with a lead educator. So lead educator, aka room leader, group leader, diploma qualified. Their duties include creating and implementing a program that supports children's development, recording group and individual learning stories, behaviour management plans where appropriate, communicating with families, occasional training of staff assisting with cleaning, toileting, and nappy changing. So as you can see, as you go through the course, the duties increase and a bit more, become a bit higher level. Then we've got early childhood teacher, aka ECT is the main one we hear the most, preschool teacher, kindergarten teacher, early years teacher. So duties include designing, implementing, and evaluating a program that supports children's development and aligns with the approved framework, providing pedagogical leadership, coaching and mentoring staff, relationships with families. So over here, and I think it's actually the same in New Zealand. So we have long daycares, which are standalone childcare from 6 months to 4 years old, where they go through there. And then we have kindergarten as well, which is basically in between a long daycare and primary school. So which we call prep. So obviously they tend to be kindergarten teachers mostly booked through there. We've got a little section down here, Queensland, ACT, New South Wales and Vic are where we work out of currently. But again, I think that comes up in a second. So the difference between the three and their responsibilities, I think on the...
And they're quite strict on that, aren't they, Kale? So if you're diploma qualified, you can't work here. As you said earlier, you can't be an early childhood teacher, even though you may have been in New Zealand.
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
So some people in New Zealand are diploma qualified, but have been working in a similar role as an EC teacher here.
Right,
but it's all on the qualification, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. So we have something here that called VIT, which is Australian, same as the registry over there. Basically, to teach over here, you would have to be able to apply for a VIT. And you could only do that if the qualification was to match our degrees over here.
Yeah.
We did have a question there.
Oh, sorry.
ECT does not do nappies, toileting, and cleaning. Not necessarily. Obviously, they have a bit more responsibilities. It's very specific to the services. Generally not. Generally, they will have either an assistant in the room that will do it, but obviously, depending on the class size and the responsibilities going on, they may have to at stages, absolutely. But generally, it's not standard practice, I guess.
Okay, going on to pay rates. I think we've got Cormac taking us through this.
Thanks for that, guys. So yeah, these are the early childhood rates for the casual staff. So generally, if you're looking at the Cert 3, that'll be level 1 would be the new graduates, and they'd be looking at around 29.59. Obviously, as you get more experience, you'll move to level 2, which would be 30.61, and then level 3, which would be the most experienced Cert 3s. You're looking at 31.58, and that would be the top bracket in terms of the levels for the Cert 3s. Same goes for the diplomas. Same thing, if you're a new grad diploma, you're looking at level 1. Once you gain that bit more experience, you move into the level 2 bracket, 35.40, and then the top bracket would be the 35.92 of level 3. And then in terms of the teaching on the casual side of things, generally with casual staffing, there's 3 different options. You could have a shift that could be 2 hours, that could be like a lunch break cover, along those lines. You could also look at having half days, where the rate would be, as you can see, 160 for level 1, and then the third option would be the full day. And it's very similar across all the levels. The more experience you have, the more you move up the levels. So yeah, from level 1 to 5. This will make a bit more sense now when we look at the next slide in terms of the levels. So you can see with the classification levels.
Oh, sorry, just trying to get this stuff out of the way.
All good. And yeah, so this would be how the levels would work. So level 1, you've got a graduate. What they do is, so in order for it to be a year, you'd need to work 200 days. And then, so there's 2 different types of services that we have here on the award rates. You've got long daycare centres, which Kale mentioned earlier. And then there are standalone like preschools as well, that would cater for 2 to 5 years old. Those preschools would have different benefits, I suppose, to long daycare, and the preschools would often have more holidays. They can be, I suppose, more competitive and harder to get into. And so most people do work in the long daycare side of things, where you do get paid that little bit more as well. So level 1 for a graduate teacher, so you're looking at in long daycare 63,475, which equates to about $32 an hour, starting off as a new grad ECT. Then level 2, you can see there as well on the criteria, it does mention that you move to a proficient accreditation, and so that's something that once you've graduated with your degree, you've got some experience, then you apply for your proficient accreditation. I'm not sure if that's different in New Zealand. I did have a New Zealand educator that moved over recently that basically had something similar, and she was able to apply over here to get that assessed, similar by ECE, to see if she has a proficient accreditation. And if you don't have the proficient accreditation, then they just do it by 5 years. So if you were to graduate your degree, in 2017, that would mean that you'd have 5 years experience that way. And yeah, again, with the salaries, level 2 would be $35 an hour, and level 3 would be $38 an hour, thereabouts, and level 4 would be 41, and then the top level for the most experienced ECTs would be $44.50. So yeah, that's the pay rates. Obviously, if there's any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat as well. And yeah, if you want to move to the next slide.
Yep, thank you. Gosh, it's yeah, good to have you guys over there. It's complicated. Okay, so where we cover, okay, so we've got New South Wales. Let's see let me start where I know. So we've got Queensland, really busy for ECE, and both in temp, right across temp, contract, and perm. So you've got all your options covered there. So Brisbane is a really viable option for you. Then we've got Sydney, and that's where we've got Cormac sitting. As he was saying, huge amount of opportunities there. And again, we've got temp work, contract and permanent roles across New South Wales. We've got Kale sitting in Melbourne and cover all of those same things again. So these are sort of all options open to you. And we've also got an office in Canberra, which covers ACT. And again, they cover all of those bits. We are soon to be opening a Perth office for WA. And that will be picking up initially with the early childhood before anything else. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities across. Kale, Cormac, if you want to add anything into that. My Australian geography is not that great.
Yeah, no, spot on. Perth is coming soon. I think that was one of the questions. I would just say, Risha, we can answer your question at the end. I'll jump into that. But yeah, Perth's coming soon. Adelaide will be on the cards at some stage. And look, that's pretty much most of the areas in terms of permanent. We have a few regional jobs as well. The team have been getting a few regional, so it doesn't have to be in a city. If you're looking to move out, those guys can help you outside of the major cities as well, which is some exciting things coming. But we can pretty much make it work wherever you go, hopefully.
And on that, actually, there are some relocation incentives as well, and that's normally with the regional. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'll jump in there so often because a lot of the regional areas they're trying and basically entice educators out there. They do offer relocation packages, and so these can offer anywhere between say $10,000 and $40,000. And how it would work is they're not paid out all up front, but they're paid out in installments once an educator starts out there. And they'd also include like other benefits like 6 to 12 weeks paid annual leave as well. So some really great benefits in the regional areas.
Cool. So something to think about. Some people would rather live in the city and experience, living in Melbourne, all the bars and all the restaurants. But if you're going with family, or you might want to try and get on the coast somewhere, or you want to take your cat, then maybe basing yourself in a region and going for those relocation bonuses is might be the right way to go. So so another quick poll, if you could just pop in there and indicate at this early stage where you are sort of leaning to in terms of the state that you're most interested in. You might be open. You can put down that you're open. You might be really focused. You might have friends or family living in Queensland, or you might, Victoria. The great thing with early childhood is you guys do have such a huge range of options. It's not the same for primary or secondary teachers. It's really hard for primary, secondary to work in Queensland, but early childhood can, We've got a couple for WA if that's of interest. We will keep in touch with you on that one. Quite a few for Vic. Any for Cormac? Come on, surely. Oh, there we go. There's a New South Wales. Cool. Okay. Good to know. All right. So yeah, I'll let Carl have a quick chat about this one.
Perfect. Yeah, so we offer a range of different professional developments. Obviously, coming over here, you might want to read into a bit more about how we operate, and we obviously love to help out with that side of things. So we're constantly running professional developments across the board, realistically. Excuse me. So we have you can basically jump onto our website and see any future events we've got coming on. We're just starting to get back into these, obviously post-COVID. So they are slowly starting back up again, but they range from behavior management, first aids, anything like that. We also have a blog where a lot of our ANZUK staff are ex-teachers, ex-early childhood. you know, New Zealand trained, Australian trained, you know, trained overseas, basically from all walks of life. So it's a good mix of sort of information blogs over there. So that's a great place you can log on to. Also, we have something called the LMS, so Learning Management Service module. Sorry. Now that's for our educators, and basically that's made by us for our educators. So it's a lot of specific stuff that we've decided that, you know, one of our educators has asked for, that we've created to be able to help them learn a bit more. And there's over 80 on there, I think, of our consultants creating them for those for you guys, so you can be able to, you know, learn any particular ones. You don't have to do them all. You can pick and choose which ones work for you. They generally go for 20 to 30 minutes, and they really break down and give you some really good insight into whichever area. There's ones for Sydney, ones for Melbourne, ones for United Kingdom. Again, a nice mix. So that's for exclusive for our educators, and they can log on and basically do them whenever they work. And some of them do work towards getting your full registration as well, which is great.
Well, there's just a bit of a example here of what the blogs look like, but it's a huge resource and there's so much information on there. So I'd really encourage you, when you've got a moment, just to jump on the blog page, and there's you know, a guide for casual. It'll give you a really good idea of what the day would look like if you are going to be a temp teacher, or if you're taking on a perm role, you know, how that looks. So lots of really, really good stuff in the blog. It's amazing. And you can just type in the search bracket, you know, what you're after. It's actually really good for resources for yourself anyway. So yeah, there's loads of good stuff on there. So definitely encourage you to jump on there. Yeah, we're massive on community, as I mentioned earlier. We have pre-departure events. So at the end of each term, we in Auckland, at this stage, trying to get some up and running in Wellington and Christchurch, but we'll have get-togethers from people who are leaving the country. So you'll meet like-minded educators who are heading off to Australia and also the UK. And that's really good. You're sort of making friends before you go. When you get over there, I know Cormac and Kale, you've got things happening in the...
Yeah, so we have a lot of generally end-of-term events. So to celebrate the end of the term, and we do a little bit of a get-together. They differ from team to team to state to state. We try and make it work for, you know, for the people we're catering them to. So yeah, they're just sort of little get-togethers. We put on some food, a few drinks, and have a good afternoon. So it might be lawn bowls or just a get-together at the office, or you know, it's a mix. So it's a great opportunity to come and meet your consultants that you work with, that you probably speak to on the phone every day, or other educators that are in a similar situation and stuff like that. So we generally try to do them at the end of every term as well. So that's another great thing.
I know we had an educator, I think she came over to the Melbourne office and she ended up going out for lunch. She went in for a registration and she went out for lunch with them, and then she went out for beers with them. So the teams over there are really great. You know, they're yeah, you'll sort of start getting to know the consultants really well. So I'll just get rid of some of this as well so we can see. So this is sort of your time frame. This is good to know. So this is sort of your months running down through here. So generally, this is just a guide. Obviously, we get people sometimes getting in touch saying, look, I'm heading to Sydney next week. But generally, people will be contacting us maybe around a year out. So we'll get that sort of inquiry, and you'll be speaking sort of to me here in New Zealand, and I'll be helping you sort of get your CV together and talking about your plans. Moving on, you'll be given a lot of information from this side, and I'll be supporting you on the requirements around a CEQA, around applying for the relevant state registration if you need that, and also the compliance stuff, which is sort of coming up in a minute. attend a webinar. Some of you are at this point already. And then those of you who are looking to maybe do temp work, so daily relieving, you might want to have that guaranteed. And if that's the case, the Australian teams will screen you to be accepted into our ambassador program, which is where you are offered guaranteed days for relief work, which is really great. It takes away the worry or anxiety about going over there and not knowing if you're going to get enough relief work. You'll have that guaranteed. So it's a great backstop. You'll be able to pay your rent, get set up, and then work out your plan. You might want to just carry on doing relieving. Some people, that's all they want to do, or you might want to have a look around before you start committing to a permanent role. Visa is relevant for some of you potentially, which we can chat to at the end, but compliance and paperwork normally sort of starting about 5 months out, and that's including that sort of stuff for ECE, and as I said, the state body registration. We put you in contact with the Australian team, so you'll start chatting to them at least 3 months before you arrive, face to face. You'll start developing a relationship with them nice and early. It makes your arrival great because you already know that person who's going to be looking after you. Once you arrive, you'll then go in and actually go into the offices and meet that person as well. So Kale, have you got anything to add to this? I think you were meant to be talking on this. I realized halfway through.
No, that's okay. Look, a few things. I guess, it's always good to try and do as much as this as possible. If you're on the fence even, or if you have it locked in, I guess the more you're getting done, the easier it is on arrival. So if you're looking to start day one, you've got everything. You've gone through ECE, you're set up on the ambassador program, and you can basically start the next day. Or at least it takes a worry off that if you move here, you've got a week to settle in, move house, find a place, or whatever it may be. But then you can start. You don't have to start the process of getting your references sorted and applying for working with children's and getting all that set up. So I would say, even if you're considering it, just do as much as possible. So that way, it takes a lot of stress off when you get here, because there are things that can slow it down, like applying for a work with children's or a VIT, or the ECE side of things, which you definitely don't want to be waiting for while you're sitting here not being able to work. Ambassador program. So as Claire said, this is something we can offer where you'll be guaranteed work, so you don't have to fret about, what if I get there and there's not enough work for me? You can be guaranteed with your consultant, 3, 4, 5 days a week, whatever it may be you're looking for. You can have that sorted. So when you get here, you're ready to start, you're guaranteed. And basically, if you don't get work for that day, you'll still be paid. So it does help take the pressure off a lot, and make it a bit easier. And there's a few bits in there that really help, but that would be the key things, I would say.
Oh, thanks, Kale. And Cormac, the one thing we probably should have also in here is sort of for those people who are looking for perm roles, potentially like Skyping with schools for interviews. Would that be right?
Yeah, exactly. So that would be that would be the first thing that we do once we have a chat with you, and we realize that you're interested in the permanent work, and then we can kind of go through the screening process with you and understand exactly what kind of services you're going to be interested in. Generally, we have 3 types. We have privates, we have not-for-profits, and then also independent schools. At this moment in time, in terms of getting sponsored, generally the larger chained organizations are the ones that are offering sponsorship. So that's something that we'd be able to talk to you about the options around some of those companies. The great thing about those companies as well is that generally they're in they're in Brisbane, they're in Sydney, and they're in Melbourne. So you have that opportunity and that flexibility for travel as well. if you did want to explore different cities. But that would be how it would start. We would, you'd go through the process with myself, for example, and then we would set up Zoom interviews with some of these services. And we'd also, part of the service we offer as well is that we would do interview prep with you as well. And we generally have a really good idea of the types of questions that they're going to ask, what they're looking for, and that be what we can help you with as well, and add value there, and put you in the best position possible to be able to secure that sponsorship and that role as well once you've done the interview.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Cormac. So on to compliance. So these are the things that you do need to get done. Some of them you can't until you arrive, depending on where you're going, and others it's really good to get done as soon as possible. So I think, Kale, were you doing these, Cormac?
I think, it's myself. I'll run through it.
Thank you.
Compliance and all the fun stuff.
Yeah. Right at the end. Should have put this at the start, everyone.
But as I think we said earlier, so ECE is the body in Australia that's gonna I suppose tell you exactly where your qualification lies. The great news is that with certain universities, you'll be able to go onto ECE's website and pop in your university, and you'll be able to see if it's already been assessed. A lot of the degrees from the universities have been assessed. But if for any reason your qualification isn't on ECE's list, then you'll just have to apply to get it assessed. It's a one-off cost. It costs $130. Generally, you get the result quite quickly as well, and then that will just show you where you're going to fall in terms of your qualification, if you're going to be considered, a degree qualified teacher or diploma, or a Cert 3. What I suppose we would need, when we're approaching services, is that we need to get an up-to-date CV from you guys, and also 2 professional referees from early childhood settings. Generally as well, we would want at least one of the referees to be from a director or manager level, and then the other one could be, for example, like a room leader, or a co-educator, and something like that. But we do need 2, and one to be more senior as well. Also then, to work as a diploma qualified or Cert 3 educator, you do need to apply for a working with children check, or a blue card as well. And the same would go for the ECTs degree qualified as well. And just the last bit then, as you can see,
right.
Just just that you'd need to present your proof of identity at a local post office, and that can only be done once you arrive in Melbourne, so 2 to 4 weeks, and that's going to cost $126.50.
Yeah, and that's the same as for Sydney as well. You can't, isn't it, Cormac, you can't apply for the working with children until you're on the ground, can you?
Yeah, exactly.
And then just the last ones.
Yeah, and then similarly, just more compliance. So everyone as well, that all the educators need to have their first aid qualification, CPR, asthma, certifications, and then similarly with the state body teacher registration. So when you move over, you need to, as an early childhood teacher, you need to register with different bodies, and there's different bodies in different states. So the one in Victoria is VIT, New South Wales is with NESA, and then Queensland with QCT. And so with those as well, that's something that we can show you exactly, where to register and how to get that done. That's something that we'll be able to send on afterwards, or if we are speaking to you. So although some of this compliance you might be thinking, oh, where do I do all this? That's something that will assist you with. And then lastly, with the ACT, so early childhood teachers don't actually need to register there. They just need to have their working with vulnerable persons certificate or card, which again, we can help you to get that.
Oh, nice and easy there then. Okay, I think that's kind of bringing us to an end. I have yeah, your details. So from here, if you would like to, if you sort of, a few of you are sort of looking at going within the next 6 months, so it would be good to get the ball rolling. I'll follow up with all of you with the slides anyway, but it would be great to book a call. So I'll send a link out to you, which will give you the opportunity to book in a time slot that suits for a chat with me. And then we can sort of talk about your plans from there. Then I'll direct you to the right person in Australia, and you'll sort of be connected to them nice and early. And we'll just start the process really around supporting you, making sure that things are done. I just see we've got a few questions there. I did see that someone's already checked their ECE and they're recognised, which is great news. We'll just roll up a bit. Yeah, already checked. Oh, good work. Cornwall, how long does the working with children check last? Do you just need one, or do you have to keep renewing it?
They've got a bit of length to them. I think this is going to test me. I think it's about 7 years.
Oh,
5 to
great.
7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, because mine hasn't expired since I've been. I think it's
really?
yeah, it's quite an extensive period, which is good.
That's awesome. Okay, and Perth registration, yes, sorry, Rajni, I didn't have the WA included on there. It will be a similar process. So we'll send you the link to register with them. What are they called? Do you guys know? WA?
I don't know the Perth setup, unfortunately, at this stage. It's not something we've been exposed to or had to look into. So not at this stage, I'm afraid. But as soon as we know, I guess we'll make it a bit more known. Yeah,
we'll support you around that. And when the Perth office is up and running, that will be, you'll be sort of taken through and, make sure that's all done. Are there any other questions at this stage? Visas, okay. So if you're not on a if you're on a New Zealand passport, you just enter the country whenever you like. You have all the same rights in terms of working as an Australian citizen. If you're not on a New Zealand passport, there are some other passport holders that are eligible for working holiday visas. You're on permanent residency. And apply for citizenship this year. Okay, if you end up with citizenship, then you don't need to do anything. For anyone who isn't on a New Zealand passport, then Cormac, Kale, I might pass this one over to you.
Yeah, so with that, if you're a permanent resident and you haven't got citizenship yet, then you would need to get sponsored. But in your case, if you're on PR and you've applied for sponsorship, our advice would probably be wait till you get your citizenship and then you can come over with no restrictions. Whereas, if you were to try and come over now, you could get a sponsored visa possibly. The sponsored visa gives you 2 years on that visa, and then you can apply for a second one and get a further 2 years. But we would advise it's probably better for you to wait and get that citizenship, and then you can start the process then and move over.
So Yuriko, to answer you, that would probably answer your question there as well. So that's there as an option for you.
I also just checked, it's 5 years working with children. Yeah,
well,
5 years.
That's a long time. It's good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Okay, great. If, any other questions for those of you who want to jump off? I know you've had a long day at work. Please keep in touch. And as I said, I'll follow up with an email tomorrow. But we're here if there's more questions. So how does sponsorship work, and do we help with that too?
Yeah, so with that, basically each service has to apply to be a sponsor, and so they do that to the Australian government. They apply to be a sponsor, and once that's accepted, then they're in position to sponsor educators, basically, or teachers. Generally it's degree qualified teachers that they do sponsor, and as I said, they do the services themselves. They will pay and facilitate the sponsorship. as opposed to ANZ UK, but we will support you to find the services that will sponsor, and because not every service will sponsor, and we'll be able to I suppose, introduce you to the ones that will, and obviously we'll be there to support you throughout that sponsorship. We can help with the documentation. I've come over, I'm on a sponsored visa myself, and so I'm well aware of the process and how it works. And basically, yeah, the company that you're working with, they will have lawyers who will, take you through what documents you need. And then once you put through the application, generally, I think it takes about 6 to 8 months for it to be accepted. And then yeah, at that point, your sponsorship begins from that point. I see one question as well. Once do services sponsor diploma? So certain services will. I think ACT in particular is a state that will sponsor diploma, and then yeah, and probably more possible regional as well, I would say.
Great, that's good to know. I didn't know that, Cormac. So ACT is a good one to steer people for there.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. It's great to have you on board. I know it's at the end of a busy day. So, yeah, we look forward to keeping in touch with you. And as I said, I'll follow up tomorrow with an email and hopefully speak to some of you in the next couple of weeks about your plans.